Hello YouTube, and this is an interview about the animation industry. If you could please introduce yourself.
My name's Mark Simon Hewis, I'm head of the Aardman Academy.
And what does that role entail?
It'd be impossible to list everything that we do as a department, or even what my role is in kind of looking after that department, but essentially what we do is we look after the arm of Aardman that is focused on offering training and industry training to people who are starting out or very experienced professionals who want to be upskilled in certain areas. And we also do that internally as well. So for people who are within Aardman, most of our focus is around the creative roles within production. It's not to say that's all we do. Obviously, a lot of our public-facing courses that we run, because it's what we're known for, are stop motion. So we run a lot of stop motion courses. We also do storyboarding and model making and story, as well as kind of production managing and producing. So we're spending a lot of the time talking to the outside world and trying to tell them that we're here and we're not a closed door, and that you can come in and talk to us and we can try and help you. And that's our main focus, is trying to tell people there are other ways to learn about the very unique skills that you need to be able to come in and work in this amazing, glorious industry.
Can you talk a little bit about your background and how you became interested within animation?
My first job at Aardman was about 17 years ago, and it was playing a character called Angry Kid. Before that, I was basically just a independent filmmaker who used animation. The reason I'd sort of got to that point was I was rubbish at school. It didn't click with me, and it wasn't until years later I worked out I was really dyslexic, and that was why. It was because everything felt like a slog. And so during that time I really got into photography. I loved photography ever since I was kind of like 10, 11. And so I went off after school to college and did a photography BTEC. Or one of our projects, we were forced to go and make an animated film. I was fuming. I was so angry. Actually, yeah, it was one of those courses which is photography and video. And so I didn't really mind making the videos, but I didn't really enjoy them. And I went off and made this animated film, and I used the photo booth. You know, a really old-fashioned one, the ones where you'd put money in and it would give you 4 separate pictures. And I animated inside a photo booth. And it was really good. And it was brilliant. And I loved doing the sound. And I don't know, something just clicked. And then I just started watching loads of animation. And I've discovered Len Lai, and I discovered Jan Svankmajer, and I discovered David Anderson. And I just went, this is amazing. Look at all these amazing artists who are using animation. Because I guess at that point I'd only ever thought animation was kids' TV. And I just fell in love with it. So I went to uni and just animated. I took 2 years out after my degree and built up a portfolio so I could go to the Royal College of Art and do a master's. And I got in. I felt very, very grateful, and I felt a bit unworthy of a place on the Royal College of Art master's degree, and graduated with some work that was really uncommercial but was getting in festivals, and moved to Bristol, and then just started bumping into these amazing people who were really industry and were amazing, and I knew I could never do that because I wasn't commercial. Was just applying to make films funded by Channel 4, the BBC, people like that, and then eventually wormed my way into Aardman that way. Started off, playing Angry Kid. That was my first job. Angry Kid is a real human body with a big head, and the faces are masks that act as replacement mouth shapes and facial expressions, and was basically me just saying to the producer of Angry Kid, after hearing them saying, we're struggling to find anybody to play Angry Kid because everybody keeps fainting, and me saying, well, look, I'm an animator, I've studied animation, maybe I could do it. And so that was when I first came in. And then I did a lot of production managing on TV series like Timmy Time and films like Wallace and Gromit, and production managing, first ADing, a lot of commercials, and then eventually directing commercial work. Yeah, so that was how I've ended up.
So some of the major things were not only networking and saying yes, but also learning the craft.
What I didn't realise, so I thought that every decision I was making when I was kind of deciding to go down that independent filmmaker route, by deciding personally that, well, no, I didn't decide. I wasn't making commercial work. I knew I wasn't, but I needed to make money. I needed to get by. And I was lucky that at that time, there was still funding out there. I still needed day jobs. There was no way I could make money off of it. And actually, most of the funding I got was enough to pay everybody except for me. But going through that process and not going down right, I'm going to be commercial, I'm going to get a job. What I learned slowly was that because I was doing that, I really understood production. I really understood everybody's role. I understood the challenges that everybody faced. And I really understood what it was like to be on set and what people needed time and space to be able to achieve. So when I came to Aardman, I never thought I'd be anything to do with production, but I needed a job. And what I learned quite quickly was that I really know how animation shoots work. I really know how to run a good set. I really know how to hopefully facilitate people and create a nice working environment. So when I first came here, that was what I was doing. I was basically doing what I was doing outside of Aardman, but bringing it into this amazing, magical, huge machine. It felt quite a smooth transition from independent into studio for me.
If you had a favourite project in or outside of Aardman, what would you say that would be?
I think when you are asked to pick your favourite, you immediately start to think, well, am I picking the product that I like the most at the end? Or am I picking the experience? Or am I picking somewhere in between both of those? I'd sort of almost say that's, for me, I'm sure there are people who could answer this, but for me, I feel like that's impossible to answer. Everything in my career felt like it changed just a little bit. It wasn't like overnight success or anything. You know, I think when you make films and when you're a filmmaker and a director, what happens is everything you make, there are mini successes. And you have these mini successes and they sort of, lead on to other things. That's the whole point, isn't it? In, I think, 2005, I put in a proposal to something called Animate Projects. At the time, they were co-funded by the Arts Council and Channel 4. And I'd already been commissioned, but very little. And I won the proposal, and it was to go off and basically try and turn an entire person's life story into 7 minutes, done in one shot, using a fairground ride, the one you stand against and it spins really quickly, using one of those as a zoetrope. And so everybody on it would be holding the frames of the story, and you'd film it in one take. And actually, that's when I met everybody in Aardman for the first time. And my producer of that was a producer and had been a producer in Aardman for years. Hence the connection with Angry Kid. She was directing Angry Kid at the time. Producing Angry Kid at the time. I suddenly started to kind of get these opportunities to come into Aardman to help some shoots, to help me pay for this big, crazy, ridiculous film I was making for Channel 4. Anyway, it took me 2 years to make this film, and for 7 minutes. And after I finished it, it did all right. It won a few awards, and it won the Grand Prix at the London Animation Festival. And because it was such a long process of like 2 years, I was also working here in my day job, being a production manager and running the studio floor and things like that. And I wasn't really telling anybody that I was also a director. And then I think all of a sudden it felt as if people who could offer me other work suddenly realised, oh, I think that's the same, because that's the same person who's our production manager who's just won the most prestigious prize at the London Animation Festival. I think that's them. I was like, yeah, that's me. I think actually we found out by the fact that my friends in Aardman had managed to get me on the Aardman bus to the British Animation Awards, because I couldn't afford to get there any other way. And it wasn't until I was there that I met everybody from Aardman, and they all asked me why I was there, and I said it's because I've been nominated for 8 awards. and so all of a sudden it felt like those two worlds collided, and that suddenly me being an animator and a filmmaker outside of Aardman, and me being somebody who was employed by Aardman, they finally came together. So it was less that the film was, I do like that film, I'm really proud of it, but it was less about the experience of making the film and the final product than it felt like finally those two worlds were starting to collide a little bit. At the time, it didn't feel like that. But looking back now, I can see that as being quite an important time.
So it was not only a networking thing, but a lot of new.
Yeah, I hate networking. Can I just say I'm not good at it. No, okay, let me rephrase that. I'm not sure if I'm not good at it, but I know that I go to those things and I just go, I should probably talk to them, and I get really nervous and I get really sweaty palmed, and they're not my comfort zone at all. But I think that what happens is you slowly have people that you get on with and you like, and if you go to enough of those things and you bump into people, the truth is you don't really talk about animation a lot. You talk about everything but, and then one day someone says, I wonder what Mark does. Does anybody know what Mark does? I've talked to him about a few of these things, and I think he's a director. Can he shoot himself? Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Well, let's give him a call. See, and I don't know. I mean, I think for a long time I steered clear of networking events, and I was really happy sitting at home in my bedroom making my own films and not telling anybody who I was or what I looked like or anything. And Aardman forced me out of my comfort zone, which I think is brilliant. I get to talk to people from the public quite a lot. I love that. I love the fact that hopefully I can put those people at ease, because I was somebody who was never at ease in those situations. I used to just absolutely just totally clam up and go into my shell. Whereas now, hopefully, I can just make it really clear that I'm really approachable, and that we're really approachable as an industry, and that there's nothing to be worried about, because I think that's what I needed someone to tell me when I was in my 20s.
Moving on to general animation questions before we talk about the Academy. What do you look for in an animator? What should they try to emphasise within their reels?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably sort of a handful of the most asked questions, and this is always in there. What is a good reel? What does a good reel look like? There isn't a formula, okay? That's the first thing I'd say. We can go through really quickly the easy ones. Start with your best bit. It's not like a film. I know when you make a film, you want to sometimes end it with the best bit, but don't end with the best bit. Always start with the best bit. Grab people's attention. I've never had a show reel more than 55 seconds long. Now, what I will do is as I've made something, I'll decide, is there anything in there that should go in that show reel that I'm really proud of? Or is my show reel already demonstrating everything I'm really proud of? A minute and a half, the second you're getting close to kind of 2 minutes, what more are you hoping you can say? If you think about the fact that at home we're watching 30-second commercials and how much story and communication can happen in that amount of time, you're not going to change someone's mind with something you put in at 1 minute 45 after they've watched 1.5 minutes of footage. You're not, because of course you're putting in the best stuff right at the front anyway. And I think the third one is know who you're sending it to. Now that opens a whole can of worms about what that actually means. When I was a director here, and I know that a lot of the directors that are directing here at the moment, they have different show reels for different purposes. If your show reel is to get a job somewhere like Aardman as a trainee assistant animator or an assistant animator or an animator, the very purpose of your show reel is to demonstrate that you can do exactly what you're going to be asked to do when you get here. There is no point you putting in things that you've lit really, really well, but isn't your best animation. It doesn't matter if you shot it on a phone and and you can see your cat behind. It doesn't matter, because that's not what you're being employed to do. You're being employed to create emotion and character and performance in probably a biped character that probably, but not always, will have lip sync involved and will need to perform with a prop, or will need to be able to demonstrate some really key performance techniques. Now you're putting in a reel because you want to convince a local state agent that they should give you $4,000 to make them a corporate video. They don't care how good your animation is. They want to know how good you are at looking like you can communicate an idea really quickly and make it look shiny and like they've spent loads of money on something that they haven't really spent loads of money on. So you are making a very different show reel for that. So it's understand your audience. You need to know what they're looking for, and I'd probably cut a reel for them. I mean, if you're going for a stop motion job, you need to have stop motion in there. It can't all be CGI, you know, and same back again, you know.
What advice would you give somebody who wants to get started in animation, but they have a blank page and don't know what to make?
I think blank pages are the most scary thing in the world. So stop looking at a blank page for a start. Just fill it with stuff. It doesn't matter. Doodle. Stop thinking that you can just open a Word doc and type with a lovely heading, my film, and then type it away. Because you're putting so much pressure on yourself. You know, if you look at how most people come up with ideas, it's doodles, it's sketches, it's thumbnails, it's writing down something you overhear someone say on a bus, it's, you know, and all these things slowly kind of sit there. If you look at, you know, I know that this is something that Nick Park does. Nick Park is just an epic doodler, and, you know, we'll kind of go, oh, that's quite interesting, that little doodle I did 3 weeks ago. Oh, let me think about that, or I'll never think about that ever again. You know, who knows? But it'll be about characters or situations or things, and I think the most important thing is don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think that we're also really good at telling ourselves we're not ready. I've seen that in an awful lot of people. I've probably experienced that myself, that now's not the best time to be doing this. I'm really busy. I haven't got time, or, you know, and the truth is there's never a right time to do it, because it's hard. You know, it's really hard work, and everybody understands it's hard work, and we've all been there. Yeah, there are many pluses to being somebody who is a bit like me when I had to go off and make my first animated film inside a photo booth. But, you know, you block a couple of days out and you go, right, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to do anything else but this. And then it just becomes something that you're doing, like a job, and you can decide pretty quickly whether you hate it or not. And I think that's also an important thing that you learn when you're going through that first process. Do I want to do this? No one ever ruined their career by having a go now, you know. But there are an awful lot of people out there who have been sitting around for a year, then it becomes 2 years, then it becomes 5, and then it becomes 10, going, why did I never make that film that I really wanted to make? You know, and that film that you want to make might take you a day, just book it off, just put your phone on silent and just give it a go. And if it's rubbish, still whack it out there in the world and let other people see it. You know, you can change your name. You don't have to put it under your own name if you want. Just see how that feels, you know, and yeah, but I think the most important thing is don't look at a blank piece of paper.
On the other end of the spectrum, what advice would you give people who already have a project, but now they want to share it with the world and don't know where to start?
I mean, it's obviously changed a lot how you get people to look at what you've done. I think festivals are still brilliant, and they're a great place to go and meet other people. You know, so it's almost like you're forced to network because often when you're in a festival and your film's been picked, they might at the beginning invite the directors to stand up and wave. Festivals are brilliant because of that interaction that you have. But also, you know, I've seen people's careers totally take off because they've made one thing and it's got really popular on Reddit for a day, or somebody shared it on Board Panda, or, you know, I know there's so many other things out there, or Shorts of the Week on Vimeo have decided they want to show something, and all of a sudden that sort of means something, you know, and that might actually even get you in a room to say, you know, that viral video, that was me. God, that one 6 months ago that like everyone was sharing, yeah, that was me. You know, it doesn't matter what that is or what you've made, but if you're scared of kind of putting that out to the world, then just give yourself a handle that's not your name. Just put it out there. I know so many people who have got pseudonyms, and what that does for them is it allows them to feel like there's no pressure in putting it out there and sharing it. So yeah, there are online festivals, online screening platforms like Shorts of the Week, which is brilliant. But of course, there's, you know, Vimeo, YouTube. They're The problem with Vimeo and YouTube is you're trying to find a way of getting traction and getting people to just happen upon it. And all you often need is one publication or one news feed to go, anybody seen this film? And all of a sudden you've gone from 3 views in the last year to all of a sudden you're up to, 80,000 this week. And it's just about being confident and going, what's the worst that could happen? And the truth is, the worst that could happen is no one watches it, which is what's happening now anyway. So you might as well put it out there and see what happens.
Any other advice would you give to animators in general?
But be yourself. Everybody brings something that's unique to their personality into this industry, and that's what makes it so brilliant. Don't try and be your hero. Try and be you. Your hero probably already exists and has probably already got a job. What you're trying to do is you're trying to come in and you're trying to show what it is that you bring into this world. If you're applying for a job at a company, maybe don't apply with drawings of all of their characters or anything like that, because there's people who are already doing that. We're such a collaborative industry that your uniqueness is far more valuable than you probably know. So don't try and iron out your uniqueness. Try and notice what it is and run with it.
That's very interesting. I've heard quite a few different takes on fan art and such within portfolios.
There might be other different people in this building who would go, it doesn't bother me. If I see someone has applied with some of that work, and it certainly wouldn't make me say, well, I'm not employing that person because of that. But it would be less interesting to me than their own things, their own work or their work that they've been commissioned to make and how they've dealt with that. That's far more interesting than I found this picture online and I've copied it. Yeah, I think you're and Aardman's a really brilliant place at celebrating everyone's uniqueness and what we all bring into this industry. Your voice is really heard here, I think.
If we move on to talking about the Academy now, it seems like a great opportunity for people to learn the animation process. What does that course entail, and what are your personal goals as head of the Academy?
Yeah, in terms of what we offer, so it's all very much kind of entrenched in our history here at Aardman. We've always had, since the first Chicken Run, a 3-month animation course. That's gone through various different shapes and sizes and guises over decades. In terms of stop motion training, that 3-month course has always existed. And then with various factors, those 3-month courses were becoming things that only the very well-off could do. And it made us feel really uncomfortable as a company. Not because we didn't love those courses and not because we didn't love people being here with us and working with us, but that if we wanted to genuinely try and find a way of allowing people to learn how to be industry standard stop motion animators from rural India, South America, Asia, Australia, we needed to find a way that they could do that and be at home while still using all of our amazing directors, Oscar-winning directors and animators and producers to help them, and for it to still feel like a course where we all know each other and we know each other's names. So before the pandemic, we started to devise how we could deliver that in an online world, and we achieved it. And we have a course called Stop Motion 1, which has a cap of 40 people. They're from all around the world. We offer bursaries for those courses. We know that film agencies and governments around the world also recognise it as a piece of genuine industry training that they can fund as well. But we try to make it as affordable as possible, and people come and they have masterclasses from the very best talent that we have here at Aardman. They all get mentored every week face to face on Zoom, and then we have 2 live lectures a week. They have tasks that they have to do, and we send them their animation kit to their home to keep. So we send them biped puppets, we send them dragon frame, we send them their armatures and their animation tools, and they don't have to send them back. That's theirs forever. So we do that with Stop Motion 1. We also have Stop Motion 2, which concentrates far more on lip sync and full body performance. So we're using a lot of clips and audio clips that people download, but it's all about biped character animation. So we have Stop Motion 1, Stop Motion 2, more to come, but I can't talk about those at the moment. We also are aware that that was still too much for some people wanting to just learn the basics of how do I get going with this. We also understand that universities struggle to facilitate the teaching of stop motion, and we want to give people a genuine alternative to university education as well. We also run these other courses which are called Foundations, and they're 1 month long. They're all recorded. There's still an online community where you share your work and we look at it and we comment and we go, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. That's amazing. And we do 3 courses on there at the moment with far more to come. So we do stop motion foundations, we do a model making foundation, and we also do a storyboarding foundation. And so that's a month long of taking you through by our very key senior staff 2 masterclasses a week with a task that you have to respond to. And that's incredibly cheap. But we just want to find a way of getting people started if they want to get started. But we also do things in person. We also know that in person is really important. Actually, just 2 weeks ago, we had a huge party. Everybody who's an alumni member. So when you come on one of our courses, you become an alumni. And we invited everybody to Aardman. And we showed everybody's work in this cinema, had a live feed to people around the world who couldn't make it so we could go and chat. We had live model making, so everybody left with their own morph. And, you know, we really want to keep that going every year. So a chance to invite people into Aardman and to hang out with us. But we also do courses in person as well. They're slightly different. So they're far more courses where people have to be here or where it's about understanding the mechanics of the studio. But yeah, we're an open door. We want to be a genuine alternative. Or that if you are at university, we can support your university to help deliver and be a door into the industry and into knowledge sharing. All of us at some point in our lives have been helped by somebody and by being shown that it's not so scary behind the curtain of the industry. And that's one of our main goals, is to support and nurture the talent that are the future of this industry and are the current leading talent of this industry. For me, as head of the Aardman Academy, it's about continuing that message of open door policy as much as we can, regularly incredibly secret things we can't talk about here, but it's making people feel like you could, if you wanted to, you could come here and you could be mentored by an Oscar winner, and we're really willing to do that for you. And we'll also not charge you so much money you'll have to remortgage your house. We will do it and we'll charge you how much it will cost us to run. And that's really important to us as well, that when we sell courses, we're charging people how much it costs us to deliver it and nothing more.
So definitely about accessibility and making sure if people want to take part, they can.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wanted to go to uni because I wanted to play. So play is also really important. But there are some people out there that want to play knowing they want a job. You know, we live in a world now where the financial pressures that people are under mean that they probably do need to have an end game or a point that, okay, now I'm earning money. I'd like to think that what we're doing is we're offering those people that want to play because they want to give it a go, an opportunity to come and do that by the world's leading experts in that. For those people that know where they want to get and that they know that what they want to be is a storyboarder, a model maker, a set dresser, a production designer, a key animator. For those people that know that's where they want to go, we want to be able to give them the very best opportunities to be mentored by the very best people who are doing those jobs now, and to make it affordable and accessible to everybody, no matter where you live, what your income is, what your background is. The one stipulation is the only stipulation we really ever have is you've got to be over 18. You know, we want everyone to feel like our natural position is to say yes. We want to say yes when someone says, can I come?
What kind of pathways do people have when they finish the course? I was reading about somebody who had taken one of the courses and they ended up working on Chicken Run 2. So what pathways are available?
The pathways after our courses are as unique as the pathways that bring people to our courses. You know, we have people who have done our courses who are big mainstream CGI animators who want to learn about stop motion. or storyboard artists who want to learn about model making, industry leaders who actually just want to go and have a bit of me time, just going off and falling back in love with the subject they loved when they were younger. But we also have people who join because they know they want to do this for a living, and they know that they want to learn from the best, and so they're coming in here because they want a job. But we also have people coming in who are hobbyists, who have always loved it, and maybe have always loved it, and are now in their 60s and 70s and want to do it some more because they haven't done it for ages and would like to learn from the best. We also have people who come for therapeutic reasons, where, stop motion, storyboarding, model making, they do it because it's their happy place. It's therapeutic for them. So to be able to list where all of those types of people want to go afterwards is impossible. As you said, Aardman is full of people who have been through the academy, but we are not a training arm to help you get a job at Aardman. Our job is to make you the best version of yourself when you leave. That might sound a little bit wishy-washy, but it's the only way to really summarize it, because people want different things when they leave. If someone comes and says, I want a gateway entry-level job in either Leica or Aardman. So our job is to help them and to tell them the kind of work they need to be making, to guide them, support them, give them amazing mentoring that means that by the end they've got that. And there are an awful lot of people who have achieved that and have done that. Actually, we had another Stop Motion 1 and Stop Motion 2 graduate join Chicken Run 2 just this week. So that was another really brilliant, exciting thing. We've got 5 people who have graduated in the last year who are currently on a major production as an animator or assistant animator here at Aardman. We also have 1 person who's at 2 people who are at Leica, but we also have countless people who are working for other big studios around the world. We have people from Disney, we have people from DreamWorks, we have a lot of people who are working on Netflix shows at the moment who in their downtime are doing our courses, and everybody is coming wanting different things. We have an awful lot of people coming to do our courses because they want to also add more to their portfolio of what they can offer clients. They're freelancers. They're very unique and very different where people go. But it's also true we have an awful lot of people who are walking away from those courses and straight into major productions around the world, which is incredibly exciting.
I'd just like to thank Mark Simon Hewis for his time conducting this interview, and thank Aardman for facilitating the interview. There's a wealth of information throughout, and it's incredibly informative.